Hello, this is Christina Barton. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we'll be talking about a tweet that I saw from Stephen King that I think is worth discussing. A lot of people have this theory, like they'll say, "Oh, if men could get pregnant, they'll say, that abortion would be a sacrament or something, and it wouldn't be touched or whatever." Just going really sexist with it, but that'd be such a dangerous world if everything was the same except men got pregnant instead of women, like they had the same kind of drives and desires. It would just totally wreck our society, and I think truly make women second class citizens. So the more I kind of ponder it, I'm like, man, God's got a good design going on there. But I also want to talk about the casting for Lilo and Stitch. That I didn't know they were doing a live action. I found out today because some people are upset about it. Why are people upset about it? Because they did pick someone who's Hawaiian to play Lilo's sister, but she's too light-skinned, so people are upset. And I find this hilarious because we have a Black Little Mermaid coming out in a little bit, so it's funny to me. It's funny to me. Also, there's the access media, as people in the, I guess, fanverse battling these folks would call them, did an article about fanboys and toxic masculinity coming for Captain Marvel. And I hate how much people blame like sexism on stuff, people not liking stuff. And I watched the trailer. I'm not gonna watch the movie. I did watch the trailer, but I gotta say I was underwhelmed by it, and I'll tell you what it reminded me of when I get into that segment. But this whole obsession with blaming toxic fanboys for reactions to things that are supposed to be for them, but they just don't like because you're not making it well. It just needs to stop. It's been going on. I think, is the point of origin the Ghostbuster movie? Is that the point of origin when they're like blaming everything on sexism instead of like quality content? That seems to be what the point. I can't really maybe there were examples, but it seemed like that became the pattern of when we're just going to blame it. So anyway, those are the topics. Not heavy, we're not doing like a lot of newsy stuff today. It's all kind of pop culture-y kind of stuff, and that's okay. Won't be as maybe as dark as other episodes are. So we're gonna have some fun today. So before we jump into it, I want to encourage you guys to go to blackteanews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. Especially some of the ones that I've written on like pro-life content, because there's a lot of people who just know they're so certain of things that are just not true, which I'll give an example. I don't have an article on my website to point to right now, but I did a few shorts about guns, and I did one short where so in a reality where people give up their AR-15s, and then the next step is just to take the handguns because more mass shootings occur with handguns. And I guess a lot of people don't know that. And so someone watched that video and then commented, I posted it on Facebook. I'm going to do a video about this reply because it's just like the perfect example of why we're doomed, I think, in our world. Sorry, I told you we weren't going to get dark. They said, who's saying we need to get rid of handguns? It's automatic weapons that should be banned. They leave a person unrecognizable in a matter of seconds. And most of the mass shootings involves AR-15s. So I just replied to them and said, this comment is so inaccurate, it's practically perfect, and laughing, crying face. So it appears that they think that AR-15 is a automatic weapon. It appears that they think that. It's just not true that most mass shootings involves AR-15s. Like 6 out of 10 shootings are done with only handguns. 1 out of 10 are only done with rifles. Most homicides far more happen with um, handguns, and people use hands and fists and hammers and knives to kill people more than they use AR-15. So just the ignorance there. I don't know if this person is a child or older or from another country or whatever. I get the feeling that they were from our country, but maybe, well, I guess people are watching this all over from the U.S. But um, if I had to guess, I would think it was probably a younger person, but who knows? Um, and if they are, I'm not. I'm still gonna. I'm not be too harsh. I'm gonna be stern in my reply because it's unfortunate that there's so many young people who are so. I give them credit for being passionate about these issues, but they're so uninformed about these issues, and they're still going to go to the polls and they're going to vote, and they're going to vote with their very wrong perceptions and opinions and misinformation to try to limit, rights and freedoms and liberty of other people, because that's what their feelings tell them to do. Facts be darned. So um I'm not surprised that there's so much people don't know. And you know what? There's other conservatives or people who are libertarian or whoever who know far more about the subject than I do. But so I can only imagine like Colin Noor, or how frustrated him or like Steven Crowder and other folks are, or like people who have like gun, lobby sort of pro gun lobby stuff when they hear all this information out there. And I guess their thing will be like, you guys are just lying because you're the gun lobby. Why don't you just have you ever considered that the anti-gun lobby are lying to you? Hmm? So I'll have a reply to that soon, but it's sad where we're living in. But yeah, check out other content on the website. Check out different merch that we have at the store. Like the You Are Not That Special mug. Also got it on shirts, and we got the Constitution's Glorious Liberty document, and we got black tea. Oh, sorry, it's a gun stat. No, that's a police stat. That's another topic of people thought they were so sure of and emotional about, but I'm not gonna get off the rails. Also got the black tea mug. Also, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion is available for pre-order, so make sure that you guys are getting that on Amazon or getting that on Barnes and Noble. So I'm very excited about that. Again, my youngest sister is the one who did the artwork for it, and she just did a fabulous job. And I'm getting a lot of compliments on the cover. She did a really, really good job. She's working on some art for me for another book, for a children's book. So I'm excited about, that coming out hopefully soon, as soon as she gets done with it. But she's doing a good job chucking away at that too. But this book covers theology, philosophy, why we need moral absolutes, and the societal harm of abortion. I put a lot of things that I could think about, not only just regarding to like the perspective from a Christian who, is on the fence about abortion, but also just like a lot of abortion arguments in general. So even if you're not religious, it'll be a good book that'll really sharpen your skills. So check that out. And I will also say, if you like what I do here at Black Teen News, please consider leaving a donation at the website, cost of stream, run my website, all the good stuff. So if you can, very much appreciate it. And shout out to everybody in the chats. I see you guys in the chats. Man, one of you guys left such a funny comment the other day. It was Bonnie. I don't see Bonnie in the comments today, but oh my gosh, Bonnie left such a funny comment. I did a video about it. It was so funny. Oh my gosh. But thank you guys for watching live, and those who watch it back. So I don't actually have a meme for you guys today. I'm just gonna jump into the stories. So first thing I want to talk about is, I guess, this Lilo and Stitch story. So I didn't know that they were making a live action Lilo and Stitch, and not that I care. I didn't even really like the Lilo and Stitch film. It didn't tickle my fancy. But people are upset today because the person that they cast for she's native. I mean, to Hawaii or whatever. She was, I think, maybe half Hawaiian, but she's too light skinned in their opinion to play Lilo's sister Nani. So her name's Sydney. Adong. I'm sorry if that's wrong, but I'm assuming Sydney's correct how I'm pronouncing it, but people are mad because she's too light-skinned, in their opinion. So what's funny about this is because, you know, I in the camp also of like Holly Berry, I'm sorry, Holly Bailey shouldn't be playing Ariel. Now I haven't watched a Disney thing in a while. I don't I already don't care about their live action. It's obviously they're doing their own thing, so it doesn't break my heart. There's other people way more upset about it than I am. I'm more like I don't get it because I'm like Ariel is your iconic character. Why wouldn't you at least like try to be true to your character? And so I don't think this looks good. You can tell me if you think that looks good. That's a still from the trailer. I don't think her little scaled boobies look good. Like y'all couldn't figure it out with the clams. I'm like, did she just like steal that? Did she skin another mermaid? See, now I'm thinking about all these things. Did she skin another mermaid to make her bra top? Or did her flesh just grow in that way? Does she just have scaly titties? Like natural? These are the things that you think about. Man, it's just, by the way, I do have a book that I have written that's like The Dark Mermaid. And I had to think about a ton of different things about deep sea and the creatures down there, and just even things like how would you do them transforming and how would they procreate? Just a lot of things I didn't want to think about that I had to at least pin down a little bit to a page. But they make clothes for their tops, you know, out of like material. They don't have scaled titties, so I don't know what, like, so I don't know if she skinned another mermaid or she just says scaly boobies. I don't know. I didn't mean to focus so much on that, but it doesn't look good. I meant to bring up this still to just, it looks blah. The colors look blah. It doesn't look cute or anything. It doesn't look majestic or magical. It looks very bland. And one thing that could really make it pop is if she had the accurate color hair, that firebrand hair. And some people are like, well, that hair that Ariel has isn't even natural in real life. You have to dye it. It's like, she's a mermaid. She can have natural, in the movie, it can be naturally that color red, right? They could do that. But they didn't do that. They went this route, and maybe they went this route because they thought this would just be this reddish brown or whatever, be more natural tint with her hair. But that goes back to her not being an accurate sort of casting for their character. So again, as someone who makes my own content, I don't understand this at all. I made sure that my mermaid had blue hair because I didn't want it to be like Ariel. You know, I didn't want people to, like, if someone wanted to cosplay my character or something one day, when if people care one day, or you know, at a Comic-Con or something, I didn't want someone to like dress up like a, you know, a warrior Ariel and be like, oh, that's a warrior Ariel. No, I wanted it to be like you're dressed up like my character Luna. So I don't get Disney not being like honoring their character, their property, you know. I don't understand it. I mean, they probably like the hype and the, you know, of the conversations that we're having surrounding it. You know, there's so much buzz when they make a casting like this because we all talk about it, whether we like it or we hate it. And there's going to be people who don't like it or are going to see it anyway. And there's going to be people who rush out to see it. It's going to be their favorite thing. And there's going to be people who are determined to not let it fail because it's a Black Mermaid. So there's all kind of decisions that go into it. But again, like, why so dull? It doesn't. Anyways, they casted her. So it's funny that if you would complain about it, right? If you complain, not because you're a racist, just because, like, you know, you're a redheaded kid and you're like, you want to see Ariel on screen, or you're just used to seeing Ariel, because you grew up with her and you think of her as a certain way, and this just doesn't jive to you, right? Not because you're racist, just because you just want your characters represented accurately. So if you complained about it, you had people who was like, you're a racist, you're a terrible person, right? That's what people were like, oh my gosh, it's just a cartoon, you're overreacting, it's not a big deal, mermaids aren't even real, you know. Fair enough. Okay, so why are people upset that they got a Hawaiian girl to play a Hawaiian girl? Oh, because her skin's a little too light. And there are examples, but here's a, oh gosh, that's really small. I don't know if I can read that from where I am. Oh, give me 1 second so I can see it. uh but yeah, it's really small to me. Give me 1 second. Pull it up in my saved downloads. Okie dokie. I'll pop that back up for you guys. Sorry. Um, so I think it's important to recognize that yes, she is Hawaiian and light-skinned, white passing Hawaiian natives exist. Uh, I'll get back to that comment. But Nani is dark-skinned Hawaiian woman, so give a dark-skinned actress a chance to play her. And she spelled two wrong. Okay. Regardless, this is still colorism / whitewashing. And so you had a bit of a troll down there who said, what's Ariel then? I thought swapping the leads wasn't a problem and only bigots have an issue with it. And the bottom comment said, the difference is that white people have always had representation. When you take away representation from people who don't have much in the first place, it's problematic. Making Ariel black was representation needed. And this Nani casting is taking away the representation we had. So, the white passing, people say that garbage, but do people understand like the history of people like passing? My great grandfather on my dad's side could pass and did pass, and he worked in a store, and his wife, who is dark skinned, told, and man, my grandma was really light, and they didn't reach, they didn't get those genes. And she told her daughters, if you go to the store, don't call him your dad, because if you do, he'll get fired. So people just existing and being light skinned, I wouldn't say is the same as white passing. So there's that. You can't just be anti light skinned people and throw words around like they don't have some kind of deeper cultural significant meaning to it. She's an actress. I assume that she tried out for the role. She sent in a tape, or she had a good agent and they knew that person and this person knew that person. A lot of times people get hired because people know the right kind of people and they get the handshake, you know. People don't always hire the best people for the job, hence the Little Mermaid situation. But saying that the Little Mermaid was the representation that we needed, no, it's not. No, it wasn't. It's sloppy seconds. It's like, I know there's all the videos of the little girls at the screen, like happy because she's brown. Um, but there's a ton of different other stuff that people could do, especially if they decide to make some original stuff. I saw a video today. This is Savvy. I played one of her videos yesterday, but if you're not familiar with this, is Savvy. She does great stuff. But she was complaining because apparently Jada Pinkett Smith is doing some docu-series type stuff for Netflix, right? And you're probably thinking, oh gosh, what is it? What, this is going to be good or not good? And they're looking at different Black queens throughout history. And they have Cleopatra. And so she was complaining because Cleopatra is not Black. Cleopatra's not Black. You know, never has been. I know that's new information to a lot of people. It's still true that regardless. And if you're doing a docuseries, why make up stuff like that? Like, if you're doing a historical fiction thing, that's one thing. You guys know I write historical fiction stuff. You know, fine, whatever. We can understand. But if people watch docuseries, they expect to take, I don't know, to trust you at least a little bit. Like maybe you're taking some license a bit, but not like totally making like fiction stuff. Like I mentioned before how I was watching something about Commodus, and I did not know they had like this older actor playing him, and about how his dad, they thought he was dead, and you know how they're trying to set him up for his empire and other stuff like that. And when you first saw him, he was in bed with like 2 girls or something, and his mom was frustrated with him because he's like a Hunter Biden type of person, I guess, is at least how they were like playing it. And then I start looking up stuff while I'm watching it, and I'm like, he's like a kid, like that. Okay, people not wanting him to take over, you know, the country because he's a child, like, is a different context than him being just a, you know, a whorish adult. Like, I'm like, why? I'm like, why are they doing this? You know, I know people take like liberty with docuseries, but I didn't understand people were like lying to you blatantly like that. So I guess, you know, Jada and Netflix is gonna be just making up stuff. But anyway, Savvy just was like, this isn't representation that we need. Like, there's real stories you can make about, like, this isn't what people truly need or want or desire. Maybe some people want it, but you're just, you know, making fictitious stuff and pretending, and you're trying to empower people with a historical inaccuracy. So that's weird. That's weird. But there's so many tales you can get from other places, or there's how many like African folklore like stories have you seen on screen that people have tapped into to tell tales like that, or just a lot, or like African history. People don't do a lot of stuff like that. I mean, there was a Woman King that just came out. I didn't end up watching it, but there was a big controversy because they changed quite a bit of, you know, some important details. You know, I probably will. It's on HBO, I think. I'll see it. Like, I'll watch it eventually. I think, just to see how it was. But it's weird. It's weird how focused people are on being inclusive, but you get someone who is the right race and they're not the right skin tone, and people are upset. And they're saying this is the same as whitewashing. She's not white. She's not white. And, you know, by the time they do all that, well, I don't know. I guess maybe, I don't know if she lives there or not. I was going to say maybe she'll tan a bit being, you know, doing all the, but I don't know. I guess if that's what she looks like, maybe not. I don't know. But to be like for that and to be against her casting, but to be for the Little Mermaid, that's absurd to me. And it's just racist. I mentioned before some time ago, I have a short that I did about, well, I did a full video on it, and then I think I did a short about some of the comments I was getting about Namor, the MCU's Namor, and I thought it was so strange how, well, I didn't like the casting when they cast him in a million years. But he definitely doesn't look like Namor. They changed so much about him. It's not the Namor that I've grown up with and really liked as a character and stuff. And people kept saying things like, "Well, as a black person, why aren't you happy with this?" And I'm just like, he's not black. Why should I care that they cast someone, like Mexican or whatever in the role? Like, or if he's Mexican, I thought he was, but maybe he is, but he's not black. And I am black. So what is it? Like, I'm a brown person, but we're not the same kind of brown. So why does that matter? Because it kind of seems like there's just supposed to be this solidarity against white people. Like, all the POCs, there's POCs and then there's white people. And then it just seemed like people are asking me to be happy because he's not a white person. And I think that's really strange. I think that's weird. So if the goal of inclusion is just to be anti-white people, I'm not for that. I'm not for that. I know what Namor looks like. He doesn't look like what they did at the MCU. That's not what he looks like. And people say, well, it's a different universe. I hate that. I hate how the multiverse stuff is just getting out of hand, but I hate that they have that excuse. Well, they'll just change all this stuff, not do anything accurate, and be like, well, it's just a different universe. That's why you're not going to see your accurate comic book representation. I'm like, okay, all right. I didn't want to see your dumb movie anyway, and I didn't. Yeah, but it's just anti-whiteness. And this poor girl getting hate when she's not white. So there's another little something for you to not be excited about. I'm not gonna watch it. Again, I wasn't a fan of Lilo and Stitch in the first place. My siblings really liked that film. My nephew really liked Lilo and Stitch. I actually I did cosplay. No, that was Moana. I'm sorry. They liked Moana too. I don't know. Maybe it's because those characters are more brown. I don't know. They like a lot of that stuff though. I don't know. Moving on. MCU. They did Captain Marvel, or the Marvels. I'm sorry. It's a sequel to Captain Marvel. But Brie Larson basically got downgraded in her own film franchise. So instead of it being Captain Marvel 2, it was changed to The Marvels, which I think it's a little funny because I didn't hate it like other people hated it or disliked it. I thought Captain Marvel was okay. And I hope I'm not stoned for saying that. But I thought it was okay. I think they cut out some stuff in the film that could have been like uber too feminist-y. I think they cut out a scene when they told her to smile or something, and she clapped back or something, just stuff like that. So that didn't make the cut. I thought it was okay. Now, did they change stuff that was like things they shouldn't have changed? Yeah, because she's the original Marvel, they'd changed into a woman, and so that wasn't cool in the film. And then there's this character who has all this rich background with the actual Captain Marvel, who they just threw out the window so they could have Carol Danvers. So Brie Larson just wasn't, in my opinion, a very good casting for Carol Danvers. By the way, I don't like Carol Danvers. I hate her. I don't like the character from the comic books. But she looks way different in the books. So at least, so that's what she was wearing for a while, at least, especially when I was reading books. So I don't like that artist, by the way. I think everyone looks a little too muscly, but we do have that book somewhere in the house, I guess. But yeah, so that's what Carol Danvers looks like. I've heard many men talk about that lightning bolt across her chest. And Brie Larson doesn't give those vibes at all. And I also think she kind of lacks a bit of star power. I thought she did okay, but there's just a little shine and sparkle that was kind of missing for me. So it's kind of funny that she's been downgraded from lead, and now she's sharing it with someone two people just came off a Disney Plus TV show. And I thought Monica Rambeau in WandaVision was the last Disney thing that I saw. So I did see WandaVision. Her character said some pretty cringy things and really sympathized with Wanda after she like tortured a town. And she had that awful line of, they'll never know what you sacrifice for them. I'm like, she's crazy. Like, if someone could put a bullet in her head, they should probably take the shot. Right. So, but I thought that she was okay for TV. I didn't think her role was kind of compelling enough for the big screen. So, it's just funny that they're putting her and Kamala Khan's, you know, who like the critics really liked the Miss Marvel TV show, but nobody really watched it. So they're putting them all together in the film. So there's the three of them. Which, by the here's still from it. I think Rambo's costume is okay. I don't know if she's calling herself Photon in here or what she's going by, but I don't like Captain Marvel's costume that much right there. But I definitely don't like Kamala Khan's costume. I think it was better in the TV show. I don't like that. I don't know how long we'll be wearing that, but those don't look like upgrades to me. But back to like Brie Larson, they did like downgrade Captain Marvel and made her really butchy looking in the comics. So again, an artist draw people differently, but there's Captain Marvel. I mean Miss Marvel. I'm sorry, and then that's after her transition surgery. Nah. No, seriously. But I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to give her like dyke energy. I don't know. And they cut her hair. I'm so glad that she grew her hair back. That's what she looks like now. Looks like she lost some weight from like before, but yeah. So I was underwhelmed when I watched the trailer, and to be frank, when I watched the trailer, the vibes that it gave me was, do you guys remember the Fantastic Four movie? The second, with the one with Chris Evans and Jessica Alba and Michael Chiklis and Eowyn, is it Rupert? I don't know, the guy who was in Amazing Grace, who went in Titanic. But and he had a really good show that they canceled when he was immortal. They be canceling good stuff all the time. But I still like the original Fantastic Four movie, but they came out with the sequel, The Rise of the Silver Surfer. So it kind of reminded me of Rise of the Silver Surfer. Reason being because they had this gimmick of after Johnny had touched the Silver Surfer, every time he touched one of the other members from the Fantastic Four, he switched their powers. So he, at one point, he touched, I can't remember how things were when he touched everybody else, but I remember when he touched Ben, he turned, into the thing, and he was like, oh, he was so upset because he looked ugly. So at the end of the film, they gave him all their powers so he could fight Doom, I think it was, because Doom was like, I think, channeling the power of the Silver Surfer or something. So and Galactus was like a dust cloud. So it wasn't a great movie. It was okay, probably better than some of the stuff that's coming out now, but it was fun for what it was. But the switching powers thing was a needless gimmick in my opinion. And so why I was reminded of that is because in this Captain Marvel film, they find out that their powers are connected, and every time that they use them, they just switch spots. So it's kind of like, I heard Nerdrotic said it was like a Freaky Friday situation. So it looked pretty underwhelming to me. But apparently if you're not into it, according to Rolling Stone, then you're just a misogynist. So I'm going to read a bit of this article. Brie Larson's The Marvels already has MCU fanboys in their feelings. So Surprise, surprise, less than 3 days after Marvel Studios releases a final teaser trailer from the upcoming film, The Marvels, the film and its star, Brie Larson, is already facing backlash from the misogynist side of the Marvel fandom. So, let me just check for a second. I I don't have a penis, so I'm a female. It's okay to not like something. And it have nothing to do with your genitals, with your testosterone, with your gametes. Sometimes you just don't produce good things. And we're just going off the trailer and having reactions to it. Maybe it'll be really good in some universe. I don't know if it'll be this one, but and to be fair, like, you guys know that I'm not going to go see it anyway cuz I'm like kind of sworn off Marvel, but it is just kind of weird to me how obsessed they are with blaming someone else for people not liking their stuff. So they're not the only ones who are going this route. They're claiming that stuff is being downstarred and disliking, and even some of the examples that they had weren't even sexist. So Eric July went through it earlier on his show, but it's so strange. I just never liked this character, and really I don't think there was anything about her in the films that I disliked that was similar to why I dislike her in the books. So I probably preferred her more in the, in the film than I do in the books. But I thought they could have done her decently. And after her film, and they showed the trailer for Endgame, and there was a scene where she like turned to Thor, and he called his hammer, and she didn't flinch, and she just kind of smirked a little bit, and he's like, I like this one. And I'm like, oh, they're gonna have like a fun chemistry, it looks like. Didn't happen. She was in the film barely at all. She was just there to be the big power, punch in the face kind of person, especially since they just totally emasculated Thor and made him so full of grief, which I understand. But all the main characters were supposed to represent the stages of grief. And so, you can't do like a story about how he's all depressed and all this stuff and try to take the serious route and then just utterly make fun of him the whole entire time. So he was clearly going through a crisis. His friends didn't check up on him until they apparently needed him, and then they came and they got him, and then he's fat, and then they're just calling him, I don't remember all the things they called him, but they're making fat jokes and joking like, is he dead? It was hard for me to watch it anyway. I was like sitting at the theaters like, I can't even look at the screen. I hated it so much. I hated it, and I hated Endgame. I didn't like it. It made my breakup with the MCU like it made it easier, to be frank. I guess I should move on to the Stephen King story. But yeah, sometimes people just don't like your stuff. And as I said, I think the origin of this all was, I think it was maybe as far as people consistently trying to blame sexism. It seemed like the beginning point was that Ghostbusters trailer, the female one, and it was just awful. Let me scroll through the article, see if there's, but on YouTube, the official upload from the Marvel Studios has been hit by over 300,000 dislikes and thousands of copy pasta comments, a popular way to spam content and drown out positive replies. Captain Feminist and the Patriarchy Stone, one comment under the Marvels reads, what a piece of crap. That's not sexist. Marvel Disney has gone off the deep end once again. It seems Disney is willing to decimate and destroy anything we remember about Marvel Comics just to push their narrative. This isn't Larson's first time dealing with man-children for checks notes, doing her contractually obligated job. People dislike Brie Larson because she just has rubbed people the wrong way. You know, she's in some of her interviews and stuff. Um, I I don't have negative feelings towards her. I genuinely just don't think she just lacked a bit of star quality for me. I don't know what else to tell you. Like she did an okay job. She obviously doesn't really have the body type to be the Carol Danvers, at least that I was reading about. But she just kind of lacked it. But I don't know how much of that is them though, as opposed to maybe her. Because again, that little like hope for that trailer, that scene in Endgame when she just did that little smirk, I'm like, they look like they could have some good chemistry trying to one up each other, and they just shoehorned her in so she could be like the leader of the Avengers or whatever going forward, and that's just not gonna happen. You know, as a matter of fact, there was an interview with Brie Larson. They're asking like, you know, are you gonna do some more movies? She's like, I don't know. Does anybody want me to? It was just really awkward. Like, so she's wearing her feelings on her face. Um, for sure. For sure. Um, yeah, that's about it. The couple of the man-hating stuff in the article. Um, sometimes people just don't like it. People will spam your stuff though. I'll submit to that. I'll submit to that. Ah, no. Someone said out of shape Thor was hilarious. It was not. It was traumatic. It was traumatic. Anyway, I want to show you guys this tweet from Stephen King. So Stephen King, you guys know he's super left. So he tweeted out, it has been said before, but it bears repeating. If men could get pregnant, abortion would be a sacrament. It kind of seems like abortion is a sacrament right now. Rush Limbaugh says that liberalism is a religion and abortion is their like sacrament. So I think it already pretty much is, especially when you have women who get on stage and say abortion is, well, they'll say it's healthcare, they'll say it's self-care, and they say abortion is love. Those are like things that real people have said, like in crowds in front of other activists, have said like on Capitol Hill. So we're at a very strange time in our lives where it's not safe, legal, and rare. Hasn't been that model for a long time. Now it's abortion is love. That's the route they're going. One thing that I point out in my book, and people can feel all kinds of different ways about this topic, but there's really only two consistent positions. One is that life starts at conception, and that's where you're going to protect life because that's the most consistent standard. And it maximizes liberty for both parties. And you're like, well, what about the woman? She doesn't want to care. Okay, like when someone's pregnant, there is a conflict of like rights because it's like, well, her bodily autonomy versus someone's life. Well, it's 9 months. You know, if there's like a medical issue in her, like, and it's a triage situation, that's different. But we can have no rights without a right to life. So that kind of does supersede, especially since bodily autonomy isn't absolute. Women don't will themselves to have abortions. It's not it's not a negative right. It's not a natural right. It's not a God-given right. It's a commodity like healthcare is anyway. You want resources, you want labor of other people, and you want the government to favor you over the baby. So there's a lot of people actually involved in the abortion process. So I think it still maximizes, even though if you may not want to go through it, which by the way, 96% of women who are denied an abortion don't regret not killing the baby. That's a pretty remarkable stat. So life at conception, that actually maximizes the most liberty in the situation. The other position is that the woman just has full bodily autonomy and she can do whatever she wants until it's out of her. And most people would say that's monstrous. Like 90% of Americans would be like, literally like 90% of Americans are like, that's not good. And I think it's bad that it's only 90% of Americans, you know? But I don't know. People just convince themselves that women wouldn't do late term abortions unless it was a medical emergency, but that's just not true. Um, but all these other like lines that people make up about heartbeat and uh, sentience and 15. I don't even know why particularly people pick 15 weeks, but all those things, they're like arbitrary, really arbitrary between different feelings and stuff that very subjective, don't really make a lot of sense, especially since we all know it's the same baby. So there's only two consistent positions, and one is at conception, and you protect that life there, or you prioritize life. You still respect mom and try to take care of all that other stuff, but protecting life and acknowledging that's like the most important, right, for me, for you, for everyone. I think there's merit in that, but the other position is we're going to ignore the baby and we're just going to respect the bodily autonomy for the woman to do whatever. Those are the really only two consistent positions. So that's why you see all these abortion activists pushing toward that end, to the point where they want it to be an option on the table all the time. Plus, the bigger the baby, the bigger the payday. So they're pushing that way, and I'm firmly at the life at conception point, right? So people are definitely making this out to be a sacrament. But what's interesting about his comment is, with if men could get pregnant, I think he's wrong. Well, first of all, if men could get pregnant, if everything else was the same except men could get pregnant and women couldn't, that this unique thing that we don't always love, but is what makes us inherently different than men, if they had that too, that would put us at such a huge kind of social advantage than men. Like, women would really be the second class citizens. And women would be so upset, I think, if men could just go and abort their kids. Like, women would not be pro-abortion if men could be pregnant and could go to the clinic and get rid of their kids. Women would be crying and picketing and begging to not do that to their, like, if men had all that power and all that say to just do that, we would not be okay. So just to flip it like that, women wouldn't be okay with it at all. And half of women aren't okay with abortion right now either. So many women are pro-life, it's ridiculous. People just want to pretend otherwise. So there's that. Two, I'm not convinced that men would abort kind of at the same rate as I wish I could talk to like Jordan Peterson or some. I think it would make a very interesting sort of conversation. I'm not convinced that men would do it at the same rate. I think men would be super. I don't think we'd have a big a population as we do. Especially if men are still stronger than women, faster than women, that they're still driven by the same sort of things, like, so they go into different fields than maybe women would still go into, and are more willing to put in the longer hours of work, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. So if men are the same, I don't even know if we'd have marriage at all, if that would be a concept that we'd push in the world at any point of time in life, if monogamous relationships would be something that we pushed at all. And maybe it's something that women would want, but there'd be no reason for men to commit to that. Because people get married and men would be like, I want to make sure that my heir that you're carrying is my heir. So, and they come together, they'd have marriage. Women could like sneak out and do whatever still too, but there was some kind of reassurance there. So if men didn't need that reassurance and they were carrying the heir themselves, why would they need to marry? They'd probably just sleep with hot chicks for the good genes and then have some wise governess watch them, and they go to work and they put in the time, and then they come home and with their kids, and they still like discipline them. There'd be no epidemic of single mothers probably. And I guess the after effects that you see from so many single mother homes and stuff wouldn't be there. But I think women, like, we would just having children would probably be something that was kind of more, you have to have kids. But men would probably also see that as a bit of a status thing too. I'm not saying that they have a lot of kids themselves, because it's 9 months and they're still doing, different other things. But I think they'd be super selective about who they sleep with, because they wouldn't really want to be pregnant, and when were pregnant, they'd want it to count. So I don't think we'd have. I don't think abortion would be like it is today, and if it. And you got to remember also that women weren't on board with abortion until, like, other men, like, convinced them to be on board with abortion. Like, Betty Friedan's group, now, which Betty Friedan wasn't, like, super into abortion and whatever either, but you had NARAL, which was by two men, like, that were duping people with different numbers. They were lying about the amount of women who were killed in illegal abortions. They were lying about how much public support there was for abortion, because people will use polls and data to shape opinions rather than reporting what the opinions are. So they knew that their statistics, whatever, were fake, but the media wouldn't correct them. So they're like, well, we're not going to correct it, because it fit their narrative. So they knew things were a lie, but they pushed it anyway. So they wanted Betty Friedan and black women and other stuff to get on board with pushing abortion, and their goal was to really push it. And Margaret Sanger, as much hate she gets from people on the right, she was a eugenicist, and she did want to limit the population, but she wasn't into abortion as much as, like, other people. And Alan Guttmacher took over the organization after her, and he was also a eugenicist, but he was really more into abortion. And so you saw this shift of focus. So there's actually, like, a pamphlet that Planned Parenthood put out some time ago, like, talking about birth control versus, like, abortion. And, like, if you have abortion, it is a surgery. It could make you sterile. It could kill you, or it will kill a life. Like, there was, like, blatant sort of, like, conversation about what is an abortion versus, like, birth control is good, and abortion is killing people. Of course, that's not the language they use anymore. And so you had, like, a handful of, like, strategic guys who plotted this to warp the minds of women. So would they have done that to themselves? Maybe, like, lower class men, maybe. I just don't know if it'd be as widespread, because I think upper class men would still want to have, their own heirs. So it's an interesting thought experiment, but I just think when people say stuff like, abortion would be a sacrament if men could have it, I just don't think so. Going through the comments, see what you guys think about that topic. I would really like to talk to, like, a psychologist or someone about all this, because, again, it would just totally reshape power dynamics. Women are kind of lucky. I think the more I think about this, that is a thing that really sets us apart, that gives men meaning and reason to join to a family, and having a family is better for the children just in general. So to not sort of have that hand to play in biology and life with social dynamics, that would be awful for women. That women should be very grateful that they're the ones who have the babies. Because if you're just thinking, like, women would just rule the world and I don't know, run the military and other, I mean, I don't think so. I don't. Maybe they'd be more in the workforce and stuff, but again, men would still if they're still driven by this similar sort of things that drive them now, they'd still want to, put in the hours or whatever, and they would just probably have, like I said, hot young egg donors, I guess. And they would probably go get some kind of prestigious nanny to teach their kids you know, I think it's an interesting thing to think about. Um, Someone said you'd like to see what a psychologist has to say. I would love to talk to like Jordan Peterson about this. Somebody like that to just break it down. No one seems to be more fascinated than me when this conversation is brought up. But I just think it opens up like a world of problems for women. And the more that I think about it, I'm like, I'm really glad that there's some, I think, intelligent design with the men and women and our different purposes, and how we have a complementary nature, and how we come together to make families, and to, you know, just in the structure of the family. But if women didn't have that role, like we literally would just be like, I think, vessels of pleasure. And like ancient times, man, not even ancient, but like just a couple, like, I was gonna say hundreds of years, but maybe even decades. I just don't think it would be good for women. I don't think it'd be good for women at all. I don't think women would be seen as equals, or as needed. So anyway, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you for joining me today. I know we got kind of deep thinking about different things on the last topic, but it was not a very dark episode like we've had the past couple days. So thank you guys for watching. Please go to Black Teen News and check out different articles on the website. Check out different merch that we have, like the "I'm Not the Victim You're Looking For" shirt. A lot of you really like that one. We got the "Denounce White Supremacy, Defeat Joe Biden" with a list of some of his racist stuff on the back. I do have plenty of books that I have written that you guys can check out. I mentioned today that I do have a book about a dark mermaid, so that's one of my books. Most of my books are fiction, but I do have one nonfiction that's out right now, and you guys can pre-order, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion, on Amazon and on Barnes and Noble. So I'm so excited about it to come out. I'm so excited. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on Monday.